Welcome to DBL. I'm Sam here with Jeff, Al, and Erica. Today, we're looking back at some of the best moments on the show. Yes, we are. We love a good debate on DBL. And one topic that got us all talking was the idea of getting kicked off a plane for showing too much skin. Take a look. The question is this appropriate? And is it your right to wear whatever you want, or should too much skin get you booted? You're shaking your head.
Look, I'm all for wearing, and I do think women get body shamed, but if you're wearing a bikini or a ton of skin and you're next to me, we're touching. And as you said, we're kind of trapped in a tube here. That's a lot of sanitation, hygiene thing I don't like.
Honestly.
I got to be honest. So, and if you get to the bathroom, I'm looking at your, whoa, okay.
Right, I mean, we've been accused on this panel of being too liberal, and there are two people, and I'm like, do what you do, Sammy, do what you do. But when it starts to invade, when your skin starts to touch mine or my child, who I might be traveling with, male or female, cover up the skin. Like, no tank tops. I'm fine with that.
Especially during a pandemic.
Right? Yes, yeah.
Just make sure it's applied to both genders.
Absolutely.
Make sure, because I'm with you. I think you need to have discernment. Some women.
And mandals, too, because, I mean, they
What's
stink.
A mandal?
They stink.
What's a mandal?
No, you can smell
What's a
them.
mandal?
Now
You
you're
can
just
smell
going
them.
based on preference.
What's a mandal?
A man sandal.
Yes, I'm fine. I'll change the genders there. I'm fine with women wearing sandals. Men, they got just funk right from the bottom. And there's open holes for it to escape.
Okay, all right, enough. Jeff, we didn't get to hear from you. What is your, does anything bother you on a plane with people's attire?
Everything bothers me on a plane, but I'll just jump off with the mandal thing. You got to wear shoes at an airport. Come on. You got to wear shoes at an airport.
So what would you do if the person next to you or behind you had their sandal
What do you
toes?
think I would do?
Would you say something or just
That's
be
a good question.
angry
Would you
the
say
whole
something?
flight?
No, I would probably steam.
Yes, you would.
Yeah, I would probably, yeah. We got to move on. Another story that got us fired up. They know what gets me fired up. Parents who charge their kids rent. I'm all for making kids earn their keep once they're adults, but Al and I weren't buying it. Watch.
This is kind of loaded because we understand that there are people who are caregivers, and of course that's appreciated. And also, a lot of parents take pride in the idea that they can give their child a head start in a way that they may not have received. I think when you have a situation where it's like, you know what, I have this amount of student loan debt and I may have gotten a little over my head on credit cards, let me move home, pay this off, and then go about in the world. I don't think there's anything wrong with being like, hey, here's $100 for the cell phone bill, or here's whatever it is for whatever it is. So I'm kind of in between on this.
Well, I just, you know, we all had that period in our 20s where some of us went out and got apartments and moved kind of away from home. We had friends that were like, I'm going to go back home and save money. And you're like, good for you.
Yeah.
And then you go back home to visit for Thanksgiving and they're buying drinks for everybody at the bar because they've been saving their money. But it really just kind of gets filtered back into the bar because you get comfortable. Somebody's folding your laundry. Somebody's making you breakfast. You kind of go back into 10th grade mode of whatever you are, unless you're a very driven person. I do get that we are in a period now where millennials and Gen Zers have an incredible amount of student loan debt, but it's very hard to focus. And I think unless it's a dire situation, I think you need to move out. And I think you might incentivize that by throwing throw some D's on it. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like make them pay something. It was a hip hop song like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know that song. Throw some D's on it.
There we go.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
Go ahead.
How did we get to rims?
I know.
Yeah,
That's not what we're talking about at all.
Make them pay a little something if they're going to stay, and that will incentivize them to leave and get their own place. If you're staying somewhere for free, why would you leave?
How about you don't allow them to stay with you? I get it in a really difficult situation.
If Sophie wanted to stay, you would say no?
I would hope that I raised her in a way, again, I'm not talking about specific unique situations, but I would hope that I would raise her in a way where she wouldn't need to fall back on mom and dad, where she would pull herself up from the bootstraps and make things work, whether she had 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs. We've all been there. We all hustled in college to pay the bills. I never asked my mom and dad to pay. I went out and got another job, and I feel strongly about that. I think you're enabling the kid.
When she looks at you with those eyes and says, I need a place to stay for 6 months, it's hard to say no.
In the Italian culture, you stay home till you're married.
Yeah.
No, that's how the women. But it's so funny how like people look at this. It's like, oh, what a loser! You live in your mom's basement. I had to go home and live in my parents' basement after I failed in Los Angeles. They helped me get back on my feet. So it's not always a bad thing. You're not always a loser. But if you're not doing anything, you're not folding your own laundry. you got to get out, or at least got to learn a lesson from it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it depends on how you're wired. If you're there to reset like you were and move out, that's one thing. But if you see somebody getting comfortable, they start getting their mail sent there, they start complaining, you're like, Mom, keep it down, I'm gaming. Like, then it's time to like put a rent on it so they get out.
Or throwing D's on it.
Yeah, throw
Either
some
way.
D's on it.
Okay. All right, so we're all in agreement, case-by-case basis. None of us want to enable.
I don't believe you turned Sophie away. I don't think you would. I don't think you could. She's going to look at you and be like, Mom, it's just 2 months.
No, I don't want to enable her, though, but I would hope that Sophie would only come to me in specific situations.
Yeah, I mean, that situation is it's not going great, and I need to stay here.
Not going great's a good lesson in life. That's how you learn.
Okay. We'll see.
Well, poor Sophie. Leave Sophie alone.
Seeing as how we met Sophie in the womb and she's now like 16,
Yes.
that's going to come sooner than later.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Too
finally, nothing got this panel more divided than the great PB&J debate. Watch.
I would say I'm an 80-20 guy.
You
Maybe
like
peanut butter, 80% to 20% jelly. I just want a little bit of
So
jelly.
you just want the jelly to give a little moisture.
A little pop. Can I ask a
Yeah.
question? Chunky or creamy?
Chunky.
Okay.
Wow, I don't
I'm a
know if a lot
chunker.
of people agree with you on that. See, first, I'm not the right one. I don't like jelly. I don't like food.
You don't like anything.
I don't like food that tastes like somebody else chewed it and then put it on my sandwich. I'm sorry. I don't like
He doesn't
texture.
like eggs or bananas?
But I'm just saying, step your peanut butter game. Peanut butter, if you want jelly, step your game up. Toast your bread. How about a little circle of honey?
Wait. Toast on a peanut butter and jelly?
Oh, Jeff, you toast it.
No.
I'm not eating
The
sad.
softness.
You can't
The
have that.
softness.
No, you have to toast it. I want a little crisp. You don't make it black, just crisp. A little circle of honey or butter to give your bread a little.
Butter?
Yes, to make your bread taste good. The bread is 1/3 of this.
It's the softness that's the comfort. You don't want to toast it
I
out hard,
don't
crunchy.
want salt. No.
PB&J is the essence of comfort food. It's what your mom and dad gave you when you were crying, when someone pushed you down. You got back up with a PB&J. That's what it is.
You ate a lot of peanut butter and jelly.
Yes, but you can also.
A lot of
You can
people do.
also step up and do better. Our parents said we want you to do better than we did, and I took that torch, and I replaced peanut butter with Nutella. All right, come with me. I'm doing a little Nutella and maybe even a little bit of Fluffernutter. You can get some
You're changing
marshmallow.
the sandwich.
No. I'm making it taste better. Yes,
You're
I care
changing
about
the
my
sandwich.
life.
A classic is a classic for a reason.
Yes,
For
but
a
we've
reason.
improved on classics.
Can I tell you, like in my neighborhood, the Nutella was very popular because it's Italian.
Yes.
And the bread was like this big. So they'd come to school with like garbage bags, and their sandwiches would be like this Nutella sandwich.
That's
Yes.
my type of sandwich.
Can I come over after school?
That's
I want to
my
get over
type
it.
of sandwich. Coming up on DBL, Tom Bergeron gives us an update on his life post Dancing with the Stars. You have to hear about all the new shows he has in the works. But next, a woman finds incredible mental strength after dealing with 2 unimaginable tragedies.
Closed captioning provided by
Earlier this month, the Supreme Court issued a decision that changes what you can do when a federal agent violates your constitutional rights. The specific case in question dealt with a Border Patrol agent, leading to viral tweets like this one. Quote, "The Supreme Court just ruled that Border Patrol can enter any home without a warrant and assault you within 100 miles of the border." The tweet includes a map showing how most Americans live within that area. So let's verify. Can Border Patrol agents legally search your house without a warrant if you live within 100 miles of the U.S. border? Our sources, the Supreme Court decision, the Immigration and Nationality Act, and Howard Wasserman, a law professor at Florida International University. Under the Fourth Amendment, law enforcement generally cannot stop and search you without probable cause, a search warrant, or your permission. But a law called the Immigration and Nationality Act carved out something of an exception for border security. It says agents can, within 100 miles of any external boundary of the U.S., board and search for aliens on any vessel or vehicle. That means in that zone, agents can pull you over and ask for your identification papers without a warrant or probable cause. But they can't do more than that, like search your car for contraband. And one section of the law specifically states they cannot access dwellings. So we can verify, no, Border Patrol agents cannot legally search homes without a warrant simply because they're within 100 miles of the border. So how is the new Supreme Court ruling connected here? Well, if a federal agent violates your constitutional rights, for instance, conducts an illegal search, there are a few things you can do in response. One way used to be, in some cases, to sue them individually for damages. But in this decision, the Supreme Court took that option off the table in all but extremely limited cases.
The court did not explicitly say that the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply to Border Patrol officials. It didn't say that they can just go into your house without a warrant. It didn't say that they can use excessive force whenever they want to. What it said was, if that happens, you don't have this one particular remedy when they do that. Now, that's no small thing, because as you said, that particular remedy potentially has a very strong deterrent effect.
With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Welcome back to DBL. Losing the two most important people in your life 3 years apart to the day isn't something many of us have experienced. Amy Morin was a therapist turned author who never realized how much she'd need to build her own mental muscles until the death of her mother and husband. Here's a look back at her incredible story.
I'm Amy Morin, and I live on a sailboat in the Florida Keys. Life wasn't always this good. In fact, I had to overcome some pretty rough circumstances to get to where I am today. I started my career as a psychotherapist, thinking I was going to teach people what I'd learned in college about mental strength. I never really realized how much I was going to need mental muscles myself, but when I was 23, my mother passed away suddenly from a brain aneurysm. And in that moment, I decided I was going to figure out why some people came into my therapy office and they grew from tough times in their life, and why some people stayed stuck. Because it was like I had a revolving door of case studies all day long of people who were going through tough times, and some of them learned from their pain, and I wanted to know what separated them from other people that felt like they were reduced by their pain. One of the things I realized early on was that people who were able to thrive after going through tough times, it was often more about what they didn't do rather than what they did do. People who grew from their pain didn't have certain bad habits. So as I studied those people, I started making sure that I adopted those things in my life, that I didn't do the things that could drain me of mental strength. And I was glad that I did, because on the 3-year anniversary of the day that my mother passed away, my 26-year-old husband died of a heart attack. And it took a long time to heal my broken heart and figure out, how do I get through this? And a few years later, after a lot of hard work, I was fortunate to find love again. And I got remarried, got a new job, got a new house. Life was looking pretty good. But just then my father-in-law was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I just remember thinking, I can't go through this again. I've grieved for so long. I don't want to grieve any longer. So I sat down and I wrote myself a letter of what mentally strong people don't do. And it was all of those things that I learned in my therapy office. And I found that letter to be really helpful. So I thought, if it helps me, maybe it could help someone else. So I published it on the internet and expected a few people to read it. But 50 million people read that letter, including a literary agent who encouraged me to write a book. At first I hesitated because I don't usually share my own story. I'm a therapist. I listen to people's stories. I don't tell my own. But I decided to go ahead and share my story with the world, and my life has never been the same since.
Amy, thank you for sharing your story with us. We've got to know, what don't mentally strong people do?
Well, mental strength has to do with the way you think, feel, and behave. So as we build mental strength, we give up the thoughts that aren't helpful, the emotions that we sometimes stay stuck in, and the behaviors that hold us back in life. So if viewers want to know what's one quick thing they can do to become mentally stronger, maybe just name your feelings. Studies show that putting a label to your emotions, especially the uncomfortable ones, takes a lot of the sting out of it.
Your list was read by more than 50 million people, including a lit agent that offered you a book deal, of course. So what do you think made the list go viral?
I think one of the first articles that was really about what not to do. There are so many lists about what to do, but most of us have a long to-do list already. And the last thing we want to know is, what else do I need to be doing today? And it was also one of the first articles to talk about mental strength. And that's something people often confuse with mental health. We know you can go to the gym and you can build muscle, but we also know that just because you have big muscles, it doesn't guarantee you won't ever develop a physical health problem, like you still might get high cholesterol. Same can be said for mental strength and mental health, that building mental strength is the key to living your best life. But if you develop something like depression and anxiety, it's not necessarily a sign of weakness.
Everybody go get this book. Thank you so much for your openness, Amy.
Absolutely.
We love the story and the messages you're getting across to people to help them better themselves. So DBL Nation, like I said, you can get a copy of one of Amy's books wherever books are sold, and you can listen to her Very Well Mind podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, even if you're on a boat in the Florida Keys. Amy, it has been an honest pleasure, and I will read this book cover to cover. Thanks again.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Thanks for having me.
The Burgundy and Gold are back in the news again, and for all the wrong reasons. And one person getting a lot of negative attention is team owner Dan Snyder. Take this exchange between Representative Rashida Tlaib and Commissioner Roger Goodell.
Remove him. Will you remove him?
I don't have the authority to remove him.
So let's verify. Can Roger Goodell personally make Dan Snyder sell the team? Our sources are the NFL Constitution and bylaws, as well as Jody Balsam, a professor at Brooklyn Law School who previously worked as in-house counsel for the NFL. Let's start with the NFL Constitution.
It's Article 8.13 of the NFL Constitution and bylaws.
That section reads in part, if an owner is, quote, guilty of conduct detrimental to the welfare of the league or professional football, the commissioner can levy a fine or even suspend the person. But Balsam says that the commissioner cannot, on his own, strip an owner of his team. However, if the commissioner determines this punishment is, quote, not adequate or sufficient considering the nature and gravity of the offense, he can refer the matter to the executive committee.
A committee that is made up of one representative from each member club, typically the principal owner. So a 32-member executive committee of the league.
And if 3/4 of this committee agrees to it, they can force the sale, although Balsam says that this has never been done before.
I think it's far more likely that if the league and its members have decided that they've had enough of Dan Snyder, it's far more likely they try to counsel him out the door rather than push him out the door.
So we can verify that no, Roger Goodell cannot remove an owner on his own, but he can recommend it, leaving it to the owners to take this big step. With your Verify, I'm Evan Kozloff.
Tom Bergeron is best known for hosting Dancing with the Stars, but now he's back hosting some new shows. Here's a look back at our chat with him.
Tom, you are a hit on Twitter. I love following you on Twitter. Fans love it because you do give them some tea. Yeah, you do. You give spoilers. Sometimes you give your sarcasm. Any tea or spoilers you can share with us today?
Ooh.
Well, not real. I mean, I can't think of any spoilers because I'm not currently hosting anything.
Yeah,
I mean, I can give you
stuff,
spoilers about
but you hear stuff, Tom.
what we're doing Thanksgiving here at the house.
Give us a Thanksgiving spoiler.
Yeah, give us a Thanksgiving spoiler. Come on.
I'm hearing turkey.
Got it.
We're getting the tea. We're getting the tea. Let's stay on spoilers for a second.
yeah.
Dancing with the Stars finale is tonight. I'm just curious, Tom, have you been watching it all? Any bets on who's going to take home the trophy?
The mirror ball.
The mirror ball, yeah, that's it.
I haven't seen the show since, when was the last time I was there? The end of 2019.
Wow. Yeah.
So can you give us a spoiler from that season?
That's more like a retrospective spoiler, I guess. Huh?
Throwback spoiler.
Right.
Exactly.
I hear you, Tom. I'm picking up what you laying down. So you spilled that you'll be hosting the remake of Tic-Tac-Toe, the game show. So how's this one different than the other incarnations of the show?
Right center.
Okay. Well, one would hope the graphics are a bit more modern. We shot the pilot for that in June. And one of my partners is Harry Friedman, who was the executive producer of both Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy for many years. So I regard him as sort of the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this particular genre. And we're hoping to be in production early in 2022. We're still awaiting that 100% green light from NBC. Some of the reporting got a little ahead of the curve, but it's looking good. And if they don't pick it up, I can always do it, like for birthday parties. We can bring a portable game to your house.
I love the way you think. And I mean, you are one of the most polished people on television. So we always see you looking good. 100%. Tom, you know how you do. But you know this business. Things are crazy right before the camera turns on. So is there a crazy moment that you can think of that happened right before the camera started rolling?
There was, first of all, I have to preface that by saying I love live television and I love the potential for live chaos. So there was one night years ago, it was a show day of Dancing with the Stars, which we shot at CBS Television City, and they had a power outage. And we only had minimal lighting available, and I was thrilled. I just thought, this is going to be fun to play with on live TV. And I think James Corden was doing the Late Late Show by flashlight, that kind of thing. And I was really disappointed when they got the power back up 100%, and we just did the show as normal. But the producer, executive producer at the time, Rob Wade, came up to me and he could see how excited I was, and he went, "You love this." I can't say the word he used, but
Stop. Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, I do."
Yep.
It's thrilling. There's something thrilling about it all.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
All over the internet, people are talking about the ramifications of overturning Roe v. Wade. And in vitro fertilization, or IVF, is something even fertility doctors claim hangs in the balance. We spoke with 3 legal experts to find out why and how IVF could be impacted by overturning the decision. About IVF treatment. A person looking to get pregnant is given medication to help stimulate the ovaries to produce several eggs. With the help of an embryologist, these eggs are retrieved from the ovaries and combined with sperm, creating embryos. Typically, one is transferred back to the uterus in hopes that it becomes a pregnancy. As for the other embryos,
they can be frozen, they can be donated, or there's also the choice to destroy them.
If Roe is overturned, states can then enact or enforce laws declaring life begins at fertilization. That would mean embryos are legally considered children. If embryos are defined as children, our experts say that would redefine how the IVF industry works and limit what prospective parents, physicians, and embryologists can do. With frozen embryos,
would that person be required to donate those embryos to somebody else? Would the person be required to use them?
When testing embryos,
some of these would lead to horrific pain and agony for children if they were born, and they're intentionally being selected out right now. But what happens if every embryo is a person? What right does anyone have to decide that some are better than others?
And while taking care of embryos,
there have been a small number of tank failures in this country, and couples have brought wrongful death claims, and the courts have routinely dismissed those cases. But if that changes, then the liability becomes criminal.
Our experts say this risk of liability can have lasting impacts on the IVF process. It's important to note, in the leaked draft, Justice Alito says he's specifically only addressing the right to an abortion. But without Roe, it's possible states adopt their own more restrictive laws.
It's a scary domino effect that could happen.
So we can verify while overturning Roe v. Wade doesn't directly address IVF, our experts say it's possible that state laws could make the process more difficult. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
According to AAA, extreme heat essentially makes every part of your car work harder. And one of the biggest problems is your battery. The heat can affect the chemical process inside of the battery, making it harder for it to hold a charge and produce power. And don't forget about your tires. AAA says high temperatures can affect the tire pressure, causing uneven wear and tear on your tires, increasing the likelihood of a blowout. The hot weather can also mean your car will struggle to start. When your engine is too hot, fuel doesn't circulate as well, making it harder to get your car going. So what can you do? If possible, park in the shade and check your car more often. Experts recommend checking your battery at least twice a year and check your tire pressure every month. And that's connecting the dots.
Welcome back. Let's dip into the DBL mailbag to see what our viewers want to know about us. Erica, you're in the hot seat. Are you ready, girl?
I'm ready.
Lisa's got a question for Erica. What's your best tip for throwing an epic party on a budget?
Oh, that's a good question.
Okay, there's two ways to go. Either if you're super familiar with the people, you do a progressive dinner, but it's all at your home. So one person brings the appetizer, someone brings the salad, whatever. So it's like a potluck, but you call it a progressive dinner because that sounds fancier.
Cute.
The other way is a barbecue. It can always be elevated. So I always go with something that's a little cheaper that you can always just make it a little bit more elegant in some way. So
Like a
there's a lot
kebab?
of ways. Like kebabs are great. Yeah.
That's
Tacos
Sam's
are
idea
also a
of
great
elegance.
A kebab is very inexpensive.
Yeah,
and
but they're
very
not
chic.
elegant. It's not chic.
You can make anything elegant. The elegance comes from the ambiance, not
Yeah.
necessarily the food. I mean, you go to places and overpay for things that are way cheaper if you got it at a stand.
She's right.
Good point.
She's right.
I didn't know about the kebabs.
This next question is for Al. Al, what comic would you love to meet, and what would you say to them?
I would probably say Eddie Murphy, just because, you know, I've met a lot of the comics that I idolized, but I wanted to meet the comic that influenced all of them. So it would be Eddie, because Eddie influenced the generation that was right in front of me.
What would you say to him?
I would probably ask him, are you going to come back to stand up full time?
Oh,
because I don't know, but it has to eat at you. I think about it all the time. It's this weird job that only a few people have, and it's hard to walk away from it.
Okay, good one. Jeff, you ready? Here comes Jeff. Okay, Carlos wants to know your favorite thing to do with your kids. Oh, Carlos, that's a sweet question.
Carlos, why was I expecting the worst?
I want to know
what Carlos is.
I was too.
Yeah. Anything that makes them smile. You know what I mean? Like when they get that shot of adrenaline, like, hey, you ready to go this? Like almost like a dog when they get all excited.
Yeah.
When they just like run around just super excited. Anything like that. I mean, any time with my kids is great. Though.
Such a good dad. Okay, this one is for me. Jana says, Sam, if you didn't choose TV, what career would you have chosen? Something with animals for sure. Maybe like running a farm. Al, stop it.
What?
I know your face. I know your face. What's wrong with running a farm, Al?
But there's a lot of stuff to do besides the animals. It's like they're on the side.
I would like the hay and stuff.
What about you would like the hay?
I would like to.
Well, you're on television. You can get hay if you need it.
Sounds like very lucrative.
Bye, guys.